Good morning, A to Z Sports Nashville. I'm your host, Easton Freeze. I'm joined by JT Runke on what is, of course, a holiday phone-it-in Tuesday. Looking forward to what should be a great show. Better late than never. Here we are talking about two very interesting topics this morning. JT, a third kind of hit us between our show call meeting this morning and our show now, which is a really good Dan Pompei article over at The Athletic about future Tennessee Titans head coach Matt Nagy. I say half kidding. It is a very good article about Matt Nagy, profiling Matt Nagy with Matt Nagy quotes in it, talking about what he would do if he were to get another job. Some interesting tidbits in there that I won't spoil. You should go read, and I'm going to write about later today on AtoZSports.com. So check all of that out, and I am sure we will circle back to that on a future, probably not too distant, morning show as the coaching search ramps up, and we'll probably be doing a good deal of talking about Matt Nagy. So that's not what today's show is about, but it is interesting this morning. What today's show is about is Cam Ward, and we're going to be talking about making sense of Cam Ward's day on Sunday, where he held the ball on average for the longest that any quarterback has ever held the ball in the next-gen stats era. So since at least 2016, north of 4 seconds per drop back, his time to throw was the most that they'd ever tracked. What does that mean about him as a developing quarterback? What does it mean about his targets downfield? I teased yesterday on the show with Austin about how I needed to go and watch the film to kind of come to a concrete conclusion here. JT and I have had a chance now to review the footage, to reveal the stats that are necessary for this conversation, and I think that there are a couple of pretty big takeaways from that, and it informs what the Titans are going to need to have happen in 2026 if Cam Ward and his weapons are going to have a connection that's going to be successful. So an interesting one there. Of course, Easton makes another terrible call like Nagy. I'm not the one hiring the guy. I'm just saying they might hire the guy. Are you mad at me?
No, don't give me that, Easton. Don't give me that.
What is that supposed to mean?
We all know that you're in the building. You're the mouthpiece. You're telling us what's going to happen. You're actually the one pulling the strings around here.
Listen, fine. I'll admit it. They are going to hire him the same way that they hired Green Bay executive John Eric Sullivan. It's going to happen. These connections are just, these relationships are too powerful for them to resist, as demonstrated by the GM search last season. I think that here's the 2 seconds on Nagy this morning. As we've all kind of come to the same conclusion on this, the leader in the clubhouse talk for Nagy throughout this whole process so far is overblown and is based on one lazy connection. Now, it is a real connection, but it's one data point. And since we have nothing else to cling to, all of these insider lists are agent work and guesswork mainly. Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker are the only ones privy to the actual list, and that's not me guessing or hypothesizing. That is me saying explicitly from a firsthand source that is the case. Then what do we know? Well, we know that Matt Nagy and Mike Borgonzi have a connection. It's even talked about in Dan Pompei's article. So he must be the leader in the clubhouse. It's not like that. It is very similar to the John Eric Sullivan conversation. That being said, that does not mean that he's not going to be a serious candidate. He is going to be a serious candidate. They're going to interview him. I would bet they give him a second interview too, if I'm being honest with you, the same way they did John Eric Sullivan. But the question then becomes, will he become John Eric Sullivan? Will they end up taking who their heart tells them is the best coach for the Tennessee Titans going forward? Or will they go with Matt Nagy, who they probably want to hire from a personal connection relationship standpoint? Or option 3, maybe those things align. Maybe they, in their hearts, believe that he is the best coach for the Tennessee Titans, and that's what they were hoping to come to a conclusion on. So that we'll all talk about starting next week, fast and furious. Whether or not they hire a coach quickly or not is TBD. JT, you and I were talking yesterday about how we might be going to the Senior Bowl at the end of January. You and I might be driving down to Mobile, still not sure who the Titans head coach is going to be, because they have so many potential candidates that could be in championship games and or the Super Bowl, right? The Rams, the Seahawks, the Packers. There's plenty of teams with high-profile candidates that it's unclear when those guys will actually be available to interview, and then to interview again, and then to potentially sign some paperwork and come shake hands and kiss babies. So that's your head coach talk for the day. Back to the topics at hand, Cam Ward and his connections. And then we will end today's show with a quick heat check, a little gut check, rapid fire round of pending Titans free agents. We will look at that list and we will ask you all who the Titans must retain, who the Titans must not retain. It's still early and there's still 1 week of football left, so minds can be changed. And we're not going to do a deep dive on the Titans cap situation. Spoiler alert, they have infinite money. We're not going to do a deep dive on where the Titans have needs or not. We're just going to kind of go through and what our gut tells us based on how these guys have played this year. So, big old show for you guys today. A lot to discuss. JT, I'm glad you're here with me on a Phone It In Tuesday. It's going to be perhaps the least phoned in Phone It In Tuesday of all time. Before we dive into any of it, tell the people what they need to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're going to try to make it the least Phone It In Tuesday of all Phone It In Tuesdays.
Austin's phoning it in.
It is hard. It is hard to do when you are 13 minutes late. That's all I'm going to say. If you want this to be the least Phone It In Tuesday of all Phone It In Tuesdays, I mean, first of all, that mixed with, as someone said, I look like I'm in a tin can. Yes, the last day before I'm finally back in Nashville and finally back in my home studio, my home space, which will be nice, finish traveling, seeing family and whatnot. So, we're trying our best, but the odds are stacked against us once again this morning. And I do agree with Ray Skull. We need Easton to prove us wrong once. Every late stream is an Easton. We need you to prove us wrong once.
Okay,
Easton.
but is that falsifiable? Because perhaps every late stream is an Easton stream. That's not technically true, but it's spiritually true. Is every Easton stream a late stream?
No. Yes.
No, that's not true.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Okay.
Austin and I will start on time sometimes.
Oh, so you show up for Austin, but not for me. Glad to see that is the common denomination.
There are different levels. Do you send my paychecks? Didn't think so.
I guess not. But it is good to see you guys here this morning. Need a couple things from you guys before we get into Cam Ward and getting to the bottom of what was the disconnect between both the first half of Cam Ward and second half of Cam Ward in that game. We'll also get into hashtag resign Chig and all of those wonderful things towards the end of the show. But before we do that, need a couple of things from you guys before we go into today's show. First and foremost, if you're watching over on YouTube, we need your help over there. Make sure you hit that like button, like the show. It goes a long way in the algorithm and the interwebs and everything. The powers that be send this show to all the Titans fans on their feed if you like the show. Make sure you're also subscribed while you're down there as well. King VC coming in red hot right here, $4.99. Thank you, King, saying lock in, like the show.
Thank you,
what
King.
King VC says there as well. If you're on Facebook, we need your help over there as well. Like the show, like the page, and also share the show with a friend, a Titans fan in your life that wants to talk some Titans this morning. And let's get going.
Yep, let's get started. Welcome into the AtoZSports Morning Show, live on a Tuesday morning. We are brought to you by BTA Sports. We'll also be sharing a number of other... Where is this thing? Here we go. Powered by BTA Sports. Along with our other lovely and amazing sponsors. We are live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time, streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Our links are tweeted out segment by segment on our Twitter feed at AtoZSports, so follow us there. Also follow us on Instagram and TikTok for more Titans coverage, and follow us on Google. It's a thing you can do with the link that we're going to paste in the chat. JT, if you wouldn't mind helping me out there. It's a way for you to get AtoZSports.com as a preferred source on your search engine of choice, which we're assuming is Google. It's very helpful for you because you get the content you want. And it's very helpful for us because our content gets in front of more people's eyeballs. So click that link and follow us. Make us a preferred source on your browser. We appreciate that. Got to thank our sponsors for making the show happen and helping out you all at home. Wilson County Hyundai. Make Wilson County Hyundai a part of your new car buying process in Lebanon or at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedics and sports medicine, boneandjointtn.org. Barton Drury Insurance Group, customized solutions for all of your insurance needs, local and online at bartondrury.com. Botero Carts, life is short, so buy a golf cart with 2 locations to serve you in Columbia and Gallatin. Check them out at boterocarts.com. And Window Nation, take advantage of January's, soon take advantage of January's buy 4, get 4 windows free sale. You could get 0% interest financing for 2 years from our friends at Window Nation. So, JT, Cam Ward on Sunday had a 4.07 second time to throw. That was his average time in the pocket or out of the pocket. And that was the longest by any quarterback in any game in the next-gen stats era, so since at least 2016. That is a very, very long time. Now, this isn't necessarily a trend of his. I know that, I think it was the Niners game. Recently, he had his lowest time to throw of the year, which was like 2.6 or something. I think that was the Niners game a couple of weeks ago. But needless to say, he has been holding the ball longer than the average quarterback this year, which is what basically every single rookie in the history of the NFL does. That's not surprising. It hasn't been prohibitively long consistently. It kind of was in this game, though, on paper, right? You see a 4.07 seconds. Frankly, that's so long that you wonder what's going on. Because if you see, like Shitter Sanders held the ball for 3.3 seconds on average, that to me, the gut check is, okay, well, he was just not seeing the field super clearly. Pretty good protection probably, but, just not getting the ball out on time. Going to need to speed up his mental process. When I see 4.07 on a passing chart here that you can see on our screen, not terrible, throwing the ball around the field, getting to all three levels, more outside the numbers than inside the numbers, but 250 yards, 50 yards of that, or 50 yards left off of that on what should have been a deep pass to Chim DK. 2 touchdowns, a decent day at the office for Cam. And we've already talked about on the game day show and yesterday's morning show the divide between his first half and second half. But what is it about this time to throw that is interesting? Well, it brings up a couple of questions, right? Was he seeing the field clearly? Was he getting good protection? I think the answer to that is obviously yes, because you can't possibly have that long to throw, even if you're back there scrambling without decent protection. And thirdly, were guys getting open? Like, were his players downfield helping him? And that's what we needed to consult the tape for. I think we should just go ahead and dive into our first question for the chat, because before I dive into the couple of reasons that I have, and I know that you have a couple of reasons that might be a little different from mine, I'm curious what the people think. So our first question today, JT, I don't have it in front of me. What did we write down?
First question. What is the biggest reason you think led to Cam Ward's poor second half?
Thank you.
What is the biggest reason you think led to Cam Ward's, I guess you could call it an outlier, time to throw type of day there today? Mm-hmm. We want to hear from you guys, because I think there are a lot of different answers. I know we went back and forth.
Our judges will accept multiple answers.
I think that we went back and forth with a couple of our Titans media buddies yesterday talking about the difference, and I think we came up with 6 different answers there. Like, there are no wrong answers here, because I think there's a little bit of truth in every single type of answer. And so we want to hear from you guys in the comments here, Easton, and we will let those fill in right now.
Yeah, while those are filling in, let me real quick tell you all about our friends at Bone & Joint Institute. They're the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedics and sports medicine. Check them out at boneandjointtn.org. Whenever you get hurt in life, you have to know who to trust, and we trust the Bone & Joint Institute. They're located in Franklin with over a dozen specialists who will help you through any type of injury. State-of-the-art rehab facility right there on campus to help you with your recovery. They do everything under one roof for your convenience. Their clinic, testing, imaging, surgery, and rehab are all centrally located in that one big, beautiful building off the interstate. Schedule an appointment. Go to boneandjointtn.org today.
Yeah, also shout out to our friends at BTA Sports. BTA Sports is better for bettors, and there is no better time to sign up with BTA Sports than right now. Use code ATOZ when you sign up to get a free 14-day free trial plus $79.99 season pass after that. That's going to get you the entirety of the 2026 NFL playoffs. MLB season is coming up. They are adding MLB this upcoming season for the 2026 season, and that is going to get you the entirety of next season of the NFL with BTA Sports. They have analytically backed models and data to help you get the best of the books, and they're here to help you out. So whether you are a on the side better, amateur better, or if you take this hardcore, BTA has something for you. Use that link in the show description or right below the title on Facebook. BTA Sports is better for bettors.
All right, JT, we asked the chat what was the biggest reason for Cam Ward's poor second half, in particular, how long he held onto the ball. What did we think of his connection with his receivers, guys getting open? All of these things are on the table. What are people in the comments saying?
Yeah, lack of openness is the first one, I believe, from the wide receivers there. Defense, says Steven. So the Saints defense really clamped down on the Titans offensive passing attack in the second half, believe Steven there. Curtis says the lack of weapons, horrible wide receiver core, fourth rounders, says Tall Texan. So all different ways to describe the Titans wide receiver core right now. Ryan says Saints went into man and we don't have anyone to beat man coverage. So another one kind of towards the defensive adjustment / poor play from the wide receivers. Jeff says better play from the Saints, second half adjustments from the Saints, wide receiver separation, which I think is one we'll talk about a bunch here. Bustin' Diamond, I think this is another one, in kind of alluded to this on the post-game show here, but like the game script, I think, also led to Cam Ward's poor second half. And Bustin' Diamond says the defense crapping their pants and him thinking he needed to play hero ball, pressing down the field. I think that's can also be a part of it. Equal says Saints adjusted and Saints pass is not very good either. Neither are the Titans receivers. Abandoning the run, kind of going back to that playing hero ball, having to press down the field. Sharman says the opposing team adjusted at half and we did not. They switched up their defense after half and was not letting any of our receivers get open. Halftime adjustments from the Saints. The Saints pass defense is good. I know there's been very early talk about Alontae Taylor, bringing him here to the Titans because of what he did in Nissan Stadium this past weekend. Mr. Clean just says straight up coaching. Jonathan, we have nobody that can beat man coverage consistently. Keelan says holding the ball. He had checkdowns open, but holding on to the ball a little bit more, too long.
There it is.
The way I want to say that there.
Yep, you got it.
Keelan says Saints weren't playing man. They were playing zone. A lot of different looks, I think, came into the equation there. But Easton, your biggest reason as to why there was a disconnect between Cam Ward and his receivers and his poor quarterback play in the second half?
Two reasons that I think led to this outlier of a time to throw number and what we saw in the second half of this game in particular, where they just were not gelling on offense any longer. Number one is Cam Ward's fault, and number two is not Cam Ward's fault. And both of these things need to be addressed in 2026 if the Titans are going to take the leap that they need to take. Cam's fault in this is something that he admitted in his very first answer at the podium Sunday. The question was, Cam, you had some early success. What happened down the stretch when you had a chance to finish it off? And he, in I think a moment of honesty, said, and I quote, I think just playing on time, being good in the run game, being efficient in the passing game, that was the working part at the beginning of the game. And at times, I continue, myself getting big play happy while trying to push the ball down the field, and then just me having to connect with the receivers. So everything takes in part to what went good, and when we were bad. It's all about just continuing to go up and down the field to stay at the right trajectory. So it's that big play happiness that he is admitting there that I think you saw a lot of in the second half, trying to push the ball down the field, as he said. And he kind of alluded to the second part of this, having to connect with the receivers. But Cam's fault in this is not taking what's available to him as much as he probably should have in the second half. Now, he was passing deep very well early in this game, which is something that we've talked about him being kind of shaky at. He was, in particular, down the middle of the field, throwing dimes, outside the numbers, not perfect, but not as bad as we've seen him at times. And I wouldn't be surprised if that first half, his success downfield, maybe led to him deciding that was just the way he was going to operate today because he could, and he wanted to, go for the big stat line, go for the big scoreboard number and trounce these guys at home and have a big homestand way to end the year in their last home game. I don't really blame him for that at all. He shouldn't have done it, but I understand why he did. So that's step one. And in year two, I do think that kind of thing, getting to where he needs to get more consistently, taking what's available to him more consistently, that kind of thing, we've talked about it all year. It requires a rewiring of the brain, right? And he's been working on that. But I think that when you look at his pre and post bye progress, for example, which, shameless plug, I wrote a pretty detailed tape and stats article on that at AtoZSports.com yesterday. You should go check it out. I think you'll really enjoy it, especially if you want to feel good about Cam Ward. When you look at that divide and how much he has statistically and eye test improved after the bye, that is a perfect example of how getting a chance to catch your breath and get your head above water for these guys, especially a guy with so much on his shoulders like Cam, as a rookie, is invaluable. And we always talk about how that first real NFL offseason that you get after going from college season, probably college postseason for a lot of these guys, and then straight into Senior Bowl for a lot of them, or whatever all-star game you're going to, and then straight into track training and interview training for the combine, and then straight into all of the PR and the media and the draft hullabaloo and going to the draft and doing all of these things with your family and setting things up and preparing to move across the country to wherever you're drafted, and then going straight into rookie minicamp, and then straight into OTAs, and then straight into mandatory minicamp, and then you get like 4 weeks off in the middle of the summer, and then straight into training camp, and then straight into an NFL season that's longer than any football season you ever played. So that's the gauntlet that they've been on since 16 months ago, right? When you finally get your first true break from that, which they're going to get here in the next couple of months, that's when we see guys really hone their craft and take a leap from being a rookie, where a lot of being a rookie is just trying to keep your head above water. It's hard to take leaps. And with Cam, I think that time on task and that ability to regroup and really analyze himself during that time off is going to pay dividends on that front. So that's number one. And I know I'm rambling, but I'll get to your reaction to this, JT, because I think you'll find these stats interesting in particular. Besides Cam Ward being big play happy and trying to push the ball down the field, he also alluded to in that quote, having to connect with his receivers. And yesterday I went and pulled these stats for the 7 guys that have been his year-long targets, right? These are the guys that have been at his disposal for the entirety of the year. So it's removing Calvin Ridley, who got hurt, but he had something like 300 yards. And we all know what the deal was with Calvin this year early on. He also had Tyler Lockett at his disposal for kind of a similar period of time, but he only caught 70 yards worth of passes, so that I removed him as well. With these 7 guys, 3 receivers, 2 tight ends, 2 running backs, I pulled these relevant statistics: catch percentage, that's straightforward; catch rate over expectation, which is an analytics model that it's basically how often you catch balls that are difficult that you shouldn't catch. And basically, in other words, here's I think the best way to put it: how often are you making a play on the ball, right? Mm-hmm. Yards after catch over expectation, that one's pretty straightforward. How often are you breaking tackles and getting more yards than reasonably expected? So a simpler way of putting that: how often are you making a play once the ball is in your hands? And then average separation: how open are you getting, right? So from left to right, how often you're catching the ball, then how often you're making a play on the ball, then how often you're making a play after you catch the ball, and then how open you are getting on average. Those are the 4 stats I pulled. And you have them color-coded. I did this beautiful little chart. They give you a visual demonstration of where these guys rank in the pool of qualified players at their position. So 37 qualified tight ends, 76 qualified receivers, and 28 qualified running backs. What you see here, JT, in my opinion, are the 2 big flaws with this receiving group that the Titans have to fix next year, and one big non-flaw that I think people are incorrectly jumping to a conclusion on. And that non-flaw, can you guess what I'm about to talk about?
Are you talking about Chig?
No, it's a category that we keep blaming.
Category. I see. The separation score. Maybe.
Yes, guys aren't getting open is what I keep hearing from people. They're not getting open. And this is a whole season's worth of data, right? So this is not just this game. When I watched the tape of this game, I didn't think guys were getting open as consistently as they typically are. The numbers back that up. Yesterday, I believe, was the second worst team-wide separation day of the year for the Titans. But on the year, the Titans are, last I checked, 9th in separation, just in terms of pure yardage between pass catcher and nearest defender in the league. So well above average, top 10. You see here, all of these individual guys range from slightly below average in Jefferson and Manor to top 5, top 6 in Spears and Okonkwo and DK. That's not really the issue here. And I'm pleased for that to be the case, JT, because coming into the year, what did we say? We said, hey, this team has improved on team speed and separation ability. They were very slow last year. Now they have guys that, at least on paper, should be able to get open. And they literally physically are getting more open than the Titans were last year. So what's going on here? What's the issue? Well, the issue is the columns before that, the 2 columns before that. Their catch rate over expectation and yards after catch over expectation. And these are the issues that I think Cam Ward has with his receiving core. He does not trust them to make a play on the ball, and he does not trust them to make a play after the catch. That's what the catch rate and the yards after catch over expectation are, as we've summarized. He needs guys that he can trust to be in the right spot, to make a play when they're in the right spot, and then to make a play after being in the right spot. And whether he's right or wrong to not trust them in that regard right now, I think it's pretty clear he doesn't trust them in that regard right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes past that, because you talk about how that also leads into the accuracy portion of it as well, because you're talking about a ball with some of these receivers. He's expecting them and trusting them to be in a certain spot that he wants to throw the ball to. But like we saw early in that game with Elikayo Manor on the out route towards the sideline, both of them could not have been more on different pages there. I think you also look at what he's done, especially in this game, throwing the seam ball, something I thought he was very excellent at in college. And that just simply hasn't been the case this season. And I think that has to do a lot with the lack of trust and ability for those guys to make a play. Like you said, you saw that, but you look at what he's been doing with some of that separation. I certainly, when I saw those statistics, I was surprised that Chimere Dike is actually that high up into the separation score. But reliability and Cam wanting to maybe take a second or two longer to pull that trigger, which is something that I have continued to say the entirety of the season, because of what he has at his disposal with his weapons, is some of the biggest things and some of the biggest reason why I think we're seeing some of these inefficiencies.
I want to continue this conversation, and there's a number of comments from you all that I want to address here in just a second. But first, let me tell you about our friends at Barton Drury Insurance Group real quick. They are the Nashville destination for customized solutions for all of your insurance needs. Check them out at bartondrury.com. They're a one-stop shop for both your personal and business insurance. With over 40 years of serving Tennesseans, Austin and Zach bought from them for A to Z's corporate insurance, and they loved the number of different plans and options that were presented, their responsiveness, the experience of the service team, the feeling that they have a high level of expertise on all of these things. They sell employee benefits, 401k planning, life insurance, workers' comp, liability, auto, property, umbrella, and surety bonds. In other words, anything you could possibly need from an insurance broker. They are local and they strive to provide excellent service, but most importantly, they take the time to make sure that you understand your insurance policy. Check them out at bartondrury.com.
You also shout out our friends. We're powered by BTA Sports. BTA is better for bettors. Use that code ATOZSports when you download the app for a free 14-day free trial, and then $79.99 for the year pass after that. That gets you the entirety of the playoffs, MLB, and the entirety of the 2026 regular season. It's a heck of a deal, and you can only get it by using our link in the show description or right below the title on Facebook. BTA Sports, where insight meets instinct.
So, some comments on this topic that I want to address from you all in the chat. Let's see. Where did it go? Bustin' Diamond points out that I am Manor separation is a big yikes, and that is true. He is very near the bottom of the league there. Thank you. So 2.7 yards, 58th out of 76. Not fantastic. Right in line with Van Jefferson. I do think, and we've talked about this some, I.M. Manner's college profile and his athleticism profile points to a guy that should be able to get open more than he does. I think that with another year to, frankly, regain his legs, because, I mean, he has the most target share on the team all year long. They have run him ragged. They have run him far more than any team ideally wants to run a late fourth-round pick. So I think that this year he was set up to not be the most successful that he could be in terms of his development, and that's just a necessity of the Titans being bad and needing a guy to step up. We will see if I'm right about that in year 2. I do think that he's a better separator than that number proves, but this year it has been tough. There's no doubt about that.
It's hard to rely on him, especially with the flaws and the warts that he had on his draft profile coming out as a 4th-round guy, to immediately put him in there as that 1X on the outside. Like, that is essentially sink or swim, except you're holding his head underwater is essentially what happened. And so if you give him maybe if you get some floaties next year and you kind of let him be able to play not in the background, but behind a guy or two, I think that's where you see the best of a guy like him.
Mr. Clean says pay Chig. Very pleased with Chig's numbers. And Chig's numbers on here are impressive. I would say that he has... I mean, he and Gunnar Helm maybe are the guys that are the most impressive here from a statistical standpoint. They're the guys that have something you can hang your hat on, right? With Helm, it is, well, he's at least going to catch the ball, brother. You throw his way. He's got the surest hands on the team. I've been saying this all year. I'm glad the stats bear that out. He has the surest hands on the team. With Chig, he's the only guy on the team that will actually do something with the ball once you throw him the ball. Like, look at his separation and his yards after catch. He will actually go and do things as an athlete in space, and that has long been the sell on him. So if you're wanting to bring him back, which we're going to talk about more in about 20 minutes or so, that's where you'd hang your hat right there. Curtis agrees. Chig needs to return. Let's see. Brian says, these numbers make me want to yak. I like that. Mr. Clean says, Chig is our best weapon at the present, which I think is a decent way of summing up where this Titans team is for Cam Ward right now. Not good enough. Zedian asks, is average separation in yards? Yes, that is yards of average separation. Tall Texan, ever the curmudgeon, says, who is, ever the dinosaur, by the way, who is coming up with these stats, basement dwellers? No. People that know data science and watch the games.
Next gen stats.
In other words, people smarter than you. Chig definitely needs to be back, says Nero. Corey says, once Cam, gets actual weapons, if he makes the same mistakes or misses, then you worry. I think that's fair. Do you mean immediately? Like in week 1 next year? No. If there hasn't been tangible progress on the consistency front by, next year's bye week, assuming that's somewhere in the middle of the season, or, just post the bye week, after you get between 25 and 30 games of Cam Ward under your belt, and it doesn't look any different, then I totally agree. That's when you start to worry. Bustin' Diamond, Helm's yak is like Zach Ertz at the end of his career. Boy gets the ball and then immediately falls down. I do think that's like the area that we'll hopefully see him improve in more, just because in college, he wasn't this yak non-factor. He wasn't an incredible yak guy, but his yak figures weren't basement dweller figures like they have been for the Titans this year. I do think a lot of the routes they've had him run have lent to, like, it's been a lot of over-the-shoulder balls in the corner. Like, some of the only outside the numbers deep passing accuracy that Cam Ward has had this year has been to Helm running up the sideline, and there's just not a whole lot of opportunity for yak on those kind of plays. But he's a bigger, stronger boy than he lets on when he catches the ball. I think he'll be able to run over some guys in year 2. That's the hope, at least. Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say the exact same thing. I think some of those stats, like with Helm, with Chig, catch rate over expectation there, especially for Chig. I think those are the byproduct of where he's getting the ball in terms of on the field versus, his actual play there. I think you would see a lot more from Helm, hopefully next year, in hopefully a different system, something that feels more comfortable for all parties involved. I think those are two stats that you look at least for the tight ends, that I still believe that they can be used a lot more effectively in an offense that Cam Ward likes. And I think that's where you can see the most growth from them. So in summary, those are the two things that I have settled on. I don't know if you had any other big picture points to bring to the table, but the things that I think must change are Cam Ward, big game hunting, and trying to push the ball downfield, and then his receiver core getting to a place where he trusts them to make a play on the ball and then make a play after catching the ball. In other words, being in the right spots at the right moments.
Yeah, absolutely.
One addition, by the way, sorry, just real quick. When I say that the receiving core has to change, I think an important distinction to make is that I don't mean like go get 4 new guys, because we keep saying like this receiver core stinks, which I think is unfair to the rookies in this group. When I say change, I consider year 2 Helm and DK and Iamaner to be wholly different players than year 1 DK and Helm and Iamaner, right? The hope is that they all take a year 2 leap and they present a big part of that change. Now, you also need to go get other guys to push them down the depth chart, but they can be a part of the solution. They just aren't right now. Now you can go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I agree with a lot of that, especially with the pressing with the ball, big game hunting, especially that's one of the big reasons why he was put in that situation. You look at also, I think reliability is something that can sum up a lot of that lack of maybe trust, which isn't really lack of trust, but just the lack of the disconnect is based on reliability, relying that your receiver is going to catch the ball, reliability that your receiver is going to be in the right place at the right time, which also comes into, it's been a whirlwind of a season for these type of guys, these rookies that have been literally put through the gauntlet ever since last February, right? I think once you get that a year under their belt, that's where you can sort of see some of that slow down as well, even more so than it already has. Yeah, and I think you also there was just back to the tape portion of it, and I know this was talked about on the broadcast as well. Leaving goes into that big game hunting. Once again, there were a lot of check downs kind of left on the board. I mean, I even likened this game for Cam before even any of the stats came out about how he held onto the ball for the longest of anyone in the last decade. Looked very much like that one rep at Miami in the Pop-Tart Bowl where he literally just stopped moving and stood there and then checked it down. But instead, in this game, instead of checking it down like that, still tried to move downfield with the ball, despite having all that time in the world. And so I think,
I don't know if you heard Austin yesterday went full old man yells at clouds on that play, by the way.
Really?
He felt it was showy and arrogant, and he did not like it.
Well, I mean,
which...
it's happened before. It'll happen again.
I just kind of shuffled out of frame while he did that.
Well, I was not able to hear that part for sure yesterday, but I think, case in point, there is a lot of different things that are not necessarily one person's fault that all go into it being the fact that they are rookies and they're developing, and it's going to have these bumps, but you hope with another, I guess, off season under their belt with some added reinforcements, you start to see these things get ironed out.
So I think we have concluded this conversation. Would we like to go ahead and talk about some heat check on free agents?
Sure, we can do that. I want to get to some super chats, though, real quick. Richard JR with the $5. We appreciate you, Richard. He says, we need to draft either the running back and defensive tackle because Titans will sign Cam Ward to either a 2 or 3 or 4 year contract with the Titans. So believing that the run game and the defensive tackle position, which is a little interesting. I mean, you have Jeffrey Simmons under contract. You have
Devondre Sweat under contract.
Maybe perhaps he means edge position more.
No
but
doubt about that.
I do think like there is an outside argument to say that running back is still a need. I think Tony Pollard has pushed back against that idea in his late season resurgence, but there will be, I think, there will be some talk about Jeremiah Love, no doubt, this offseason. Big also with the $10. We appreciate you, Big. Says an interesting tidbit, Steve Smith or Calvin Ridley, or Steve Smith on Calvin Ridley. From what I heard, it was evidently early. He wasn't a fit. 1, he's not available. 2, off coverage. He is hell to deal with. Press coverage. And then gives the dash to Milk Carton there as well. So I think...
No, I think he says milk carton as in kids gone missing.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. I thought that was a play on Rand Carton.
No.
Right.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, I mean, hey,
no one's arguing that the Ridley experiment didn't work out. That part
this is true,
is
which I think also gets put into perspective on where they will move after the season, and look into the idea that they could move on. They don't necessarily have to, but even if they were to bring him back, like at this point in his career, he's no more than a wide receiver 2 on his best day. I think
I feel pretty strongly that it's over. But that's not
over.
The topic of today's discussion, because he's still technically under contract, so he would be a cut candidate. We are going to talk about guys that are no longer under contract after this upcoming Sunday's game. The long list of Titans pending free agents. How many guys will they be bringing back? We're going to talk about that and show you the list here in just a second. Get your answers in the comments. But first, let me tell you about our friends at Window Nation. They are running a new deal in January, so nothing to act on quite yet, but you need to write this down and keep it in mind for later this week when the calendar turns and we are in the big 2026. Window Nation is running a new sale. Buy 4 windows, get 4 windows free. That is the deal they'll be running. That's a fantastic deal. If you're looking to get your whole home redone, you could get 0% interest financing for 2 years. Schedule a fast and free estimate now with the pros at Window Nation by calling 866-90Nation or windownation.com. You can go there and they will hook you up with, again, a fast and free estimate. Their pros will come out and tell you all about what they could do, what your options are, how much better your home will look and feel once you get those older builder grade windows out and the new custom Window Nation windows in. January is a great time of year to replace your windows thanks to Window Nation.
Powered also by BTA Sports. BTA, better for bettors. Use that code ATOZSports to download the app. 14-day free trial, then just $79.99 for the entirety of the 2026 sports season. That includes baseball, the entirety of the 2026 NFL regular season, and the 2026/2025 NFL playoffs. Great time to get in with BTA Sports.
All right, so JT, we're going to go ahead and send the question, if you wouldn't mind, in the comments. What's one Titans free agent they must re-sign? We'll get to guys that they must not re-sign here in a second, but the first question is, who must they re-sign? And you guys can answer that in the comments. Here is a visual of who you can choose from. I'll run down the list quickly. You have some starters here at the top, starting guard Kevin Zeitler, starting edge rusher Arden Key, rotational defensive lineman Sebastian Joseph Day. Right now, starting wide receiver Van Jefferson. Titans legend, long snapper Morgan Cox. Punter Johnny Hecker. Backup quarterback Brandon Allen. Rotational defensive lineman Jihad Ward. Backup guard Blake Hance. We haven't seen or heard much at all from this year due to injury. Kicker Joey Sly. Swing tackle Oli Udoh. Rotational defensive lineman James Lynch. Right now, starting cornerback, although he just got hurt and is done for the year, Jalen Armour Davis. So you consider his Achilles tear on that one. Recent waiver wire addition, Kaiir Elam, or actually I think just straight up signing. I don't think he was a waiver guy. Either way, recent addition, Kaiir Elam, former first-round pick Buffalo Bills legend, Kaiir Elam. Running back Julius Chestnut, preseason Titans legend. Cornerback Darrell Baker, Titans waiver wire legend for the past 2 years, playing more ball than he probably ever expected to. Safety Mike Brown, also a guy right now playing more ball than he ever expected to. Tight end Chig Okonkwo, obviously, that's a big one. And then you've got guys that are RFAs and ERFAs who are, there's not a whole lot to talk about. Jarek Reed, Anthony Orji, Bryce Oliver, CJ Ravenel, and Charles McClellan. Raise your hand in the chat if you are familiar with Chuck McClellan's game. I doubt you are. So of those guys that are red and yellow squares on the screen, the only guys that I really think that they are likely to bring back for sure, I think that Bryce Oliver will, he's an exclusive rights free agent. I think that his situation will be tendered or whatever the terminology is on that front, and they will look to bring him back because he is affordable and because he is useful for this team, especially on special teams. Injuries just really derailed his second season, but I don't think that's going to make them give up on him. So JT, I'll send you the chat with this list in mind. Who are the people saying that the Titans must re-sign?
Yeah, the most obvious one here to begin is Chig, says Bryce. Jeff also says Chig. Darius says Chig. Let's see. SBJ, I think, is another one that he, once again, is a guy who continues to be a positive in the locker room and also a fine rotational guy there. Nero also says Chig. Darren says Jihad Ward, I think, is also a good answer there. Ken says Chig. Wildcat says Joey Sly, which, once again, on a 1-year deal. Do you continue to go with Joey Sly if Bones Fossil is still here? Chig, period. So just Chig on that list. Ryan says Udo is a guy they'd want to bring back. Scott says Chig and Harrell I want back. I think Jalen Harrell is still under contract. So
he is.
At least for another 2 years, at least. Kenneth says Jihad Ward, Chig, and Corey Levin. Ira Hoshi says Sly.
Was Levin on that list? I don't think Levin. Did I say Levin? No, Levin's not on this list.
Oh, okay. So then, yeah, I mean, maybe you did because somebody also said.
Well, now
Levin
I'm wondering.
well.
I thought that he's supposed to be on this list, so now I'm not sure. I'll double check on that because that's an important thing to know.
Morgan Cox and Corey Levin here as well. Chig, Curtis says Chig, Joey Sly, Chig and James Lynch re-signed Chig. I think everyone is now.
Yeah, I don't know why Spotrac left him off of that list that I screenshotted, because he is going to be a undrafted free agent, an unrestricted free agent next year. So definitely worthy addition to this list.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Chig is a.
Let's talk about him. Where are you at on resigning Chig? Because those that have followed the show this year know that there may be no topic I've flip-flopped on more than bring Chig back or don't bring Chig back.
I'm not going to give up. I have not given up since he's been drafted. I will not give up. And so I think.
You're not bailing on the mascot of the Hot Read podcast?
I'm not bailing on the mascot. I'm not bailing on the prince that was promised. I still think that there's more to be obtained out of Chig Okonkwo and his game that is not used correctly still. The hope is the third time around, the third coach, the third offensive coordinator, the third scheme will finally get it right. And you've seen how much he's been targeted by Cam Ward this season. He is the leading receiver for the Titans right now on the Titans. And I think that says something. And certainly I don't think it's going to be a deal that breaks the bank. Certainly if he gets more lucrative offers on the open market from other teams, I could see that happen where he ends up finding a different place. But I think he has been a key core piece of that locker room. And he is still, whether he is going to then start to split more time with Gunnar Helm upcoming or not, I think he is a guy that you can absolutely rely on for Cam Ward, even when things aren't going the Titans' way. And so for that reason, like I'm fine with it. Like I think for the right amount, like I don't want them to overpay Chig, but like if he's getting what his play around the average that he is demanding right there at whatever his play equals, I'm good with it.
Nobody's gonna like what I'm about to say. The person that I saw comment on this yesterday that I most resonated with their opinion was Jared Stillman. I forget exactly what he said, and I'm sure it was more intentionally inflammatory and sharp and biting than it needed to be. But what he generally said was, bringing Chig back is going to be easier than replacing him. And that's kind of how I feel at this point. I have always been a personal fan of Chig's game, and I cannot quit him. I'm with you on that. Games like he had this past Sunday, touchdowns like he had on that fourth down, the way that he runs the ball once the ball's in his hand, he's just so dang fun to watch. But he is inconsistent, and he tends to wait until December for anything to happen. Now, maybe if the Titans ever get good at football again, that will be a value to them instead of because right now they're always dead, super duper dead, been dead for a long time in December. And it feels like, well, great, now you've come along. But if they're competing for something in December, how nice will that be if suddenly you have a new weapon in Chig Okonkwo? That's the spin there. in the modern NFL, you need at least a pair of reliable tight ends who can be trustworthy blockers. And they have one in development in Gunnar Helm. Chig is just not ever going to be that guy. As one Titans coach, who I will leave anonymous, mentioned it to me a couple of weeks ago at this point, the best way to sum up Chig might just be he's a guy that you're always going to want a little bit more from, but he does enough that makes it hard to ever quit him. And I agree with Stillman on this. I think bringing him back is going to be easier than replacing him, because when you look up and down the list of other options at tight end in this draft, not a great tight end draft, and other options in free agency, I just don't know who is going to be that versatility guy that you bring in to be a usable receiver and a value to the blocking game. Now, when I look at OTC's valuation of Chig and try to figure out, okay, well, what's he going to demand? Their valuation is, so how does this work? Oh, I see. His current APY is like right at $1 million. Their valuation is $9.1 million. I don't know if that'd be a multi-year deal. Like, I'm not going to pretend to know what he's going to demand, because I do think that the market for tight end this year is weird, and maybe a team gets desperate enough to overpay him. But if the Titans are, with their infinite money, having to pay him somewhere in the $5-6 million a year range for maybe a year or two, I would just assume do that, because you're going to have to spend the money on somebody. Might as well spend the money on a guy that wants to be there and that you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a hard game to play, especially because the idea of moving on from Chig is believing that you are going to give Gunnar Helm that increased role. And can you really rely on him to do that the same way Chig does? I don't.
Oh, I think you can. See, that's where we differ. If they bring back Chig, I want it to be under the presupposition that Gunnar's the guy now.
We'll see, right? Because either way, I think I still need to see more from Gunnar Helm on a consistent basis for me to believe that that can happen. I do think that they both can coexist. I do still think that if you bring Chig back, it is kind of a 1A, 1B type of situation, because I just don't know yet, or I don't believe yet that Gunnar Helm can be this consistent tight end 1 to have a tight end 2. I need to see more consistency there. And maybe that is along the lines of that just getting not enough opportunities, the rookie wall, whatever you might believe there. But I still think that there is a lot left to be desired with a Gunnar Helm right now, especially with how he's being utilized in this system, and with Cam Ward right now kind of picking and choosing his moments. And so I think if you bring him back, that means that you are still waiting for Gunnar Helm and still taking another year or two of development on his plate there. If you don't, that means to me that you are expecting a lot out of Gunnar Helm next year. And I think that's a position that he doesn't necessarily need to be in, or I think he should be in.
We'll see. What does your gut say they do? You think he's back or not?
I think he's back.
So do I.
Yeah.
So do I. But we'll see. Any other guys on this list before we get to guys that they absolutely must not bring back? Let's go ahead and send that question in the chat, by the way. What's one Titans free agent they must let go, no matter how tempting? Now, don't name the guy that like stinks. Obviously, like, who's the guy they're definitely not bringing back? Like Kaiir Elam. Okay, relax. Who's the guy that you could see them re-signing that you really want them to not re-sign? That's kind of the nature of this question. We'll let those comments pile in here. JT, anybody else on this list that you are adamant they need to bring back? The one guy not on this list, as we talked about, is Corey Levin. I think we agree that's a guy you need to bring back.
Yeah, well, first of all, we also have another super chat here from Kick It to the King. We appreciate you. $1.99 says, Chig fools you every December. Someone will overpay. We'll see. It'll be really interesting, but I like the idea of bringing Jihad Ward back. I think he has been a really solid, the ideal type of rotational edge player that you want, assuming that you add more to that position, whether it be veteran guys who can immediately start and be productive, whether it is getting a rookie in there that is a highly drafted rookie. Like, I think he's one of the guys there that I would absolutely bring back. I think he brings versatility to this the defensive line as well. I think he helps out a lot on special teams. He's a guy that has been really important there. So he's my guy. Like, I think he's done enough this season to warrant bringing him back.
I like you planting your flag on one guy. I'm going to cheat and name a handful because I do like a handful of these guys. I just think you bring back the value trench players because the Titans have quietly had a lot of success and seen quality depth manifest in that way. So I think that includes Corey Levin as your swing interior guy who clearly has proven himself to be a reliable backup. I think Oli Udoh is a guy that you clearly need to fight to bring back. Now, all year long, I have heard rumblings from inside the building about how other teams have wanted him, and they wanted him early in the season. They certainly want him now. I won't be surprised if he's a sneaky hot ticket, and if the Titans want to retain him, they may have to pay him like a significant sum of money. I don't know what that looks like. Maybe it's like a $10 million one-year deal. Like, I don't know, but he's the kind of swing tackle that the league desperately wants, and they're going to have competition for him. They need to. If they're going to overpay on somebody, that's the kind of guy, non-starter, that I want to see them overpay on to keep around because he's been very valuable.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, on the offensive line, those are the guys that I really want to see them keep.
You might see a few of those guys, I feel like, with just because of the infinite money that they do have, which obviously is a joke, but like they may end up using that to their advantage in the sense that they may try to bring some of these players back because of where the situation that they're in, right? Like, we'll give you more money. We understand the situation that this team is and the culture is, but we'll give you more money to be a part of that and rebuild that.
What do rich people say? What's the point of having FU money if you don't sometimes say FU, right?
I guess that is fair. That is fair. Shall we get to the guys that we
By the way, I wasn't done, and I know I know my audio is messed up. I'm going to fix it here in a second when you do the ad read. But the other guys on the other side of the ball in the trenches that I think you need to retain. What's the point in not bringing back Sebastian Joseph Day and Jihad Ward? I'm with you on Ward. I'm with the commenters on SBJ. These guys have proven themselves to be valuable, high floor rotational guys. You need to improve along that front in terms of ceiling, but in terms of floor, that's the kind of group that you want, and I think that they probably will bring those guys back. Now, on to the guys that you don't want to see back. JT, I'm going to have you tell the folks about Botero Carts while I leave and fix my audio.
Yes, I will. Welcome in, guys. We're going to do a solo Botero Carts with no divide because life is short. As Easton leaves, you realize life is short and you have to buy a golf cart, and that's why you got to do it with our friends at Botero Carts. They make it so easy to buy your shiny new golf cart. 0% financing for 36 months. Cart starting at just $6,700. They're open 7 days a week with a full service sale and rental dealership that is locally owned and operated with 2 locations to serve you in the Middle Tennessee area, one in Gallatin and their new location in Columbia, Tennessee. No dealer fee, no credit card fee, so no hidden fees when you buy your shiny new golf cart. And it is shiny and new because all of their carts are stored indoors out of the elements for your satisfaction. They also offer a no credit needed option if you want to take that route. Life is short. You got to buy a golf cart. And when you do, you got to do it with our friends over at Botero Carts. And look at that. He is back now. Perfect.
Just in time to tell you about our friends at BTA Sports. Use the link in the description below to get a 14-day free trial. You will make money with our friends at BTA Sports. Get that app in the palm of your hand and go make some money on the sportsbook bad guys in Vegas. BTA Sports is here to help you out with that. Now, JT, back to the question at hand, our last question for today's show. Who are the free agent guys that you could see the Titans bring back, but you really don't want to see it happen? You hope that they don't give in to the potential temptation. What are folks in the comments saying?
Cristoforo kicks us off and says Arden Key. This is a hot ticket here as Key, Arden Key. James disagrees with you, saying SJD. Gotta go. Key.
Why?
Key, Johnny Hecker, says Ryan.
Yeah, go read on that.
Titans Kyle, wow. Morgan Cox. He wants to be done.
Whoa!
Crazy.
Why? What did Morgan Cox do to you?
Boo this man, boo him.
Yeah, tomatoes for Titans Kyle. That's this got to be trolling.
Richard says Arden Key. Scott says probably Zeitler, where I can see the argument there that like he may be tempting to come back. Heck, I mean, the general NFL population of fans believed he was a top 10 guard in Pro Bowl voting this year.
That's what I've been told.
And we talk all the time that hey, anybody is pretty much as smart as some of these guys in the front offices, and maybe they think the same. Arden Key, Julius Chestnut, which was he on that list? I believe
he was.
So Julius Chestnut, especially when you have Kalel Mullings, I think that's fair. Arden Key once again. Key and Zeitler. Brandon Allen says Keelan, which I think is also, you go and find another backup. What happens with the Will Levis situation? Going to be super interesting to talk about. And then we get to the big one here. Jalen Armour Davis, I think, is my answer. Is that the big one? I think it's my answer because I know I want, and this is my plea to Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi and the front office analytics that be. Quit the Jalen Armour Davis experiment. Just cut ties. You tried to do it and it didn't work. It was really their hot ticket item when they were talking about how you were the number one pick. And so you also get that number one waiver spot. And we're going to do that to find an edge, to find an advantage. And the best they could muster up there was Jalen Armour Davis. I don't care how much of your pride gets in the way. Be done with that experiment. I don't want Jalen Armour Davis on this team anymore. And it's unfortunate that it probably will come to fruition because of, I believe it was an ACL injury, right? For him, or something with his knee, I believe, which knocked that game. But either way, I think that is one that I do not want to see back.
Well, I agree with you that I don't want to see him back. I disagree with the idea that they're going to bring him back. I would agree if he hadn't popped his Achilles this past week. But now that he has done that, I think that's kind of the nail in the coffin, which is really unfortunate for a guy who has had a long history of injuries, and this is just the latest one. Let me look at this list because I'm not sure I have a super strong answer. Who on this list do I want them to not bring back? I was kind of expecting the chat to go in on Van Jefferson here. I'm pleased that they didn't because I think that he has been actually a sneaky stabilizing force the past couple of weeks. Now, he just, I think, assumption, I don't know, but I think he just broke his forearm. We're going to find out more this week, I'd imagine. And that throws a wrench in things, unfortunately. I'll go Zeitler just because I do think that there will be some temptation to lean on continuity for the offensive line. And generally speaking, I am a fan of that. I think that this year was a great example of, and injuries were a part of this at the beginning of the year, but you saw this group really stabilize down the back half of the year once they had some time to all get on the same page and get healthy. And there is something to that when it comes to an offensive line. It's a group effort, not an individual effort, and that's what the coaches and players tell you all the time. But I think this year they really demonstrated that, and so I think having continuity is a big deal, and maybe that's the reason why you don't go upgrade at center. We'll talk more about that, I'm sure, later this season, but that's going to be something that the Titans at least entertain. With Zeitler, though, I just don't know how you can bank on him having another healthy season at his age. Yeah. And his level of play was not high enough, not close to high enough for me to want to take that risk. So I'll go Zeitler. You need to go get another right guard unless they feel really good about our boy Jackson Slater stepping into that spot.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of things to look around there, but I tend to agree with that. The health issue and also just looking as if he had finally, Father Time had finally hit that cliff with him with the reliability. I think there were a lot of moments this season that could have been avoided because of Kevin Zeitler's, maybe playing wasn't the greatest. So I think you look at that one. I tend to agree with that one as well.
All right. All that leaves us to do, JT, is throw some shade here.
Oh, I will. Hold on. Titans Kyle says, how much longer do you think / want Morgan Cox to play? He's one of the oldest long snappers in the league. He's about to turn 40.
Until he starts being even remotely a problem would probably be my answer. When have you ever thought about Morgan Cox? And I say that as complimentarily as possible. Like he shows up, he does his job, he goes home every day, all year round.
Yep.
So like the next time the Titans have one long snapper issue, bad long snap, miscommunicate, like anything, then we'll have that conversation. But they have none. He is the perfect long snapper because he is invisible.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
And he's a good guy. Time? I like Morgan Cox. Yeah, it is shade time. Throw your shade in the chat. Want to hear y'all's complaints for the day before we take off a couple of days for some New Year's festivities. It's time to throw some shade. Shout out to our friends at Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process at wilsoncountyhyundai.com or in person in Lebanon. Check them out. Painbone will help you out. JT, do we have any? We don't have any shades quite yet. We'll let those percolate in the comments. Anything that is on the top of your mind today in terms of shade that you'd like to share?
Not particularly.
Okay.
Shade on the week. I guess just shade on this entire week between Christmas and New Year's.
There you go.
I continue to say that this is the worst year of the week. It feels weird. I feel like I'm in limbo the entire time. I hate this week. It sucks. So
it's like a hungover food coma stupor of holiday festivities between Christmas and New Year's. Productivity is at an all-time low. I'm with you. It is a strange time.
Yes.
My shade is on our A to Z Nashville group chat yesterday that I had to mute because you, Austin and Ryan would not stop relentlessly heckling me as I was getting many things done on a very busy Monday. I had a busier morning than usual because the Titans moved their press conference to the morning, and I have a writers meeting every Monday morning, and I, in an unusual turn of events, was on the Monday morning show, so I didn't really get to any writing or tape work until the second half of my day. And then I was choosing quality over quantity yesterday. I posted like 4 articles on Sunday that were shorter, quicker tidbit articles. And on Monday, I chose to go on more of a deep dive route and put some quality work out there. And you all were giving me crap for it because I only posted 1 article yesterday. But I'm sorry I'm not the keyboard monkey that you people want me to be at A to Z and churning out 14 articles every day on a Monday. That just ain't me, brother. That ain't me.
And not to mention that I drove 10 hours and still edited a video in the time that it took for 1 article. But hey, either way.
Yo, act like I did nothing from sun up until that article was posted, that I was just sawing away on that 1 article that whole time, which is just lying.
All right, either way. Jeff says, throwing shade on the grown adult who went to Ohio State practice, wait outside, and went up to players saying, why couldn't y'all beat Indiana? Y'all suck, better not lose again. Like, grow up and get a life.
Why is Jeff talking about himself? Clearly this was Jeff. That sounds exactly like something the Big Ten Jeff would do to Ohio State players.
Ann says, shade to the Michigan weather. We are driving back from Tennessee.
Is it snowy, cold? I don't know what the shade is about, but I'm sure it's wintry.
I think she's in the middle of the cyclone bomb or whatever that is.
The bomb cyclone. What a great weather term.
B-Bird says, shade on the amount of end of the month paperwork I still have to do.
Gross.
Shade on all of the fraud being exposed in Minnesota and California. I heard about this.
Are you privy to
yesterday.
This? All those daycares, baby.
Hilarious. Shade
the
on
Leering
people.
Center.
Tall Texan says, shade on people who rely on stat sites as their guide to football.
Well, rely entirely on? Yes, agreed. Equal shade, Tall Texan, on the Neanderthals that pretend that stats aren't helpful and just watch the game and then watch the TV copy of the game and then just decide things are what they are. That's also shade.
Ryan says, throwing shade at Michigan for getting a jabroni as a new head football coach there.
Is that how we feel? I feel like they did as good as they possibly could have given the circumstances.
Probably. Bustin' Diamond says, shade on all of my Vandy fan friends. Go Hawks.
No, go Vandy. Anchor down.
My shade is on 2025 as a whole. Worst year ever.
Whoa. Worst year ever?
Hopefully.
Was this guy around for 2020 and he still thinks this is the worst year ever?
2026 is better for you there.
I guess so, yeah.
Charmin says, shade on the company I work for making us work this week while our opponent across the road gets from Christmas Eve till the 5th off.
Well, guess what? This is how you beat your opponent. Clearly, you guys are grinders and they are not.
Titans Kyle says my shade is same as JT. The worst week of the year. Half the people I message, I get an out of office. Some of us are still working. Yeah, I mean, Austin said Ryan posted 3 articles during the excuse making rant by Easton. So
they all seem to be privy to this end of show topic here because
Anthony
they're
says
us.
Shade on the Cam haters. You know who you are for not having patience with a rookie quarterback. Stay on that side when things get better and coaching in new players.
Sure,
fair enough.
Keep that energy, man.
Yeah, I think that is. I'm looking real quick to see if I have any more, but I think that's it.
All right, that's our show. We are off for the next 2 days, but we will be back on Friday to preview Titans Jags, the season finale. I don't know who's even going to be on that show. Is it me and Austin?
It is you and Austin. So once again, another show you have to do in the morning. Oh, humbug.
I don't mind doing the show in the morning. What bothers me is when I have morning show obligations and then you all are like, "Where's the articles, Easton?" I'm doing a show. Leave me alone. Until then.
Like the show.
Easton. He's JT. Yeah, like the show. We appreciate that. And enjoy your New Year's. Be safe. Don't add to the population. Don't subtract to the population. I guess you're adults. If you want to add to the population, go for it. But have a good time. Be safe. Enjoy yourselves. We will see you on the back end of the holiday in what should be the best year ever. We hope, 2026.